So this is such an important lesson for us to learn from Solomon, to monitor and to guard our hearts. Now, how do we do this? I want to give you some very, very tangible handles, all right? Because this is a bit ethereal right now, and so I want to bring it down to what does it look like for us to guard our hearts, all right? And so I want to introduce you to an exercise that if you do this, I guarantee you, I've been doing this for the last number of years to grow my EQ, to grow my awareness of what other people are feeling and how I'm affecting their lives. And we're all experts in monitoring behavior, right? We know how to do that. In fact, this whole idea of paying attention to what's going on inside of other people, that might be new to us. And I know some of you are probably like, well, this doesn't seem very spiritual. I thought we were going to learn from the Bible. All right? I mean, this is kind of a waste of time. Well, let me tell you something. This is actually spiritual. This is from the Bible. And you can have a lot of knowledge, but if you don't know how to do this well, you're not really going to be able to exhibit anything that Jesus calls us to do in loving and leading other people generously. All right? And so as a Christian, even if you're a Christian, like this is a part of maturing as a Christian. You mature when you learn how to pay attention to what's going on inside of you. All right? And even if you're not a Christian, if you're kind of still like trying to figure that out or you're here for the first time, I mean, we're excited you're here, but like you put this into practice, it's going to benefit your life. All right? And so here's how it goes. You probably heard the phrase, think before you talk, right? Think before you talk. There's two parts to what I want to encourage you to do. The first part is I want you to stop and think what you're feeling before you say anything. All right, and so guys, especially for you, for us, for the guys in the room and tuning in online, I know how this works for us. We basically have like three emotions. We're like, okay, what are you feeling? You're like, so, well, I'm frustrated. Well, is there anything else? Well, no, I'm just frustrated. Well, anything else? Well, I'm mad and I'm frustrated. Is there any, so you got two emotions. Well, I mean, I'm happy, but if I'm not happy, I'm mad and I'm frustrated. So like guys, that's about as deep as guys go. Ladies, just so you know, like we have a hard time identifying our emotions generally. And so guys, I want to work with this a bit. I want to help us just understand our vocabulary and our feelings a little better. Ladies, it's a little bit easier to do this. And some of the guys would go, well, that's because they're more emotional. I would disagree with that. I think women are more emotionally intuitive. But guys, typically, I think we're as emotional as women. We just get scared of the emotions. So we kind of suppress them and then we end up frustrated. All right, and so what I want us to do, I want to kind of increase our vocabulary here for a bit. All right, and so there are a whole bunch of other emotions, and the goal is to figure out, okay, what is the emotion I'm feeling when I have one of those moments where I bump into somebody and things begin to stir inside of me? So we're going to kind of take a journey into the heart. And you might be thinking, especially the guys, Kurt, are you sure that's a good idea? Well, I think it is because Solomon says, hey, you got to guard your heart. You got to pay attention to it. And if we're going to pay attention to it, we got to know what's going on in there. So here's a few things you may have felt before, all right? And there's amazing power in this. If you will just begin to do this as you interact this week, I guarantee you'll see some immediate results. All right, so the first thing I want to ask you to do is pause and say, okay, I want you to name your emotion. What am I feeling in this moment? When you interact with your spouse, your partner, maybe a colleague, you guys bump into each other and stuff just kind of comes out. Okay, what exactly did he or she do? And what did that elicit in me? What's the emotion that's coming to the surface? Now, I want to help you out here. I want to give you an emotion wheel, all right? And so these are all emotions right here. You didn't realize there are that many emotions, but you can scan this QR code. You can bring it up on your device at home. You can do it in the room. I encourage you to save this because these come out of the 6 core emotions, but this wheel will help you figure out, okay, what am I feeling in this moment? All right, you can kind of say, okay, it's this one right here. Now, for many of us, it's like, okay, anger. I feel anger right now. We all know what anger is, all right? So what else is there? Well, I feel rejected. All right, okay, well, I thought you said you were angry. Well, I was angry. I was really angry, but then I said, okay, well, why am I angry? Well, I actually feel angry because I feel rejected. All right, I'm embarrassed. I'm embarrassed. And I'm angry. Well, why are you angry? Well, I'm angry because she did something and it hurt me and I actually got really embarrassed. Okay, see, now we're getting somewhere. We can pinpoint, here's the emotion. Disrespected. Ladies, you get so mad sometimes at him and just say, I'm so mad and frustrated with him. All right, well, what's behind that? Well, honestly, you might be mad and frustrated, but it's probably because maybe you got disrespected. I just feel like a failure. Every time, you start talking about our brother-in-law, every time I hear about all the trips they're going on, I just have these feelings well up inside of me. I find myself getting angry, all right? And I know you think I don't like him, but I really do. I don't dislike him. It's just that every time I hear about all the places they're going, if I'm honest, okay, what am I feeling? I think I actually I feel like a failure. I look at all the things they're able to do, and I'm like, I haven't accomplished that much. And it makes me feel like a failure. You got to surface that. Hang on to that for a moment. We're going to come back to the failure piece in a moment. I think I'm sad. Okay, well, why are you sad? Well, I'm sad because I'm lonely. Well, why are you lonely? Well, because the person I'd been with, like they left me. They abandoned me. Ooh, now we're getting somewhere. I feel abandoned. Not just sad, but abandoned. I think I'm scared. I thought I was frustrated. I was frustrated with everything going on and not being able to predict the way things are going to go, and nothing's easy, but I don't think it's really frustration. I think, honestly, if I could pinpoint, I think I'm really scared. I feel betrayed. I feel like they totally betrayed my trust. To be honest, I think I'm jealous. And jealousy is a hard one to look in the mirror. I mean, this is a hard one to see in ourselves. I think I'm jealous. Every time I see her wearing that little shirt, it just reminds me that I'd never fit in that shirt. And I know you think I don't like her. I think you think that I just don't get along with her. But no, every time I see that, I think I'm jealous. I think I'm jealous. See, what is it? What can you pinpoint? What's the thing that's stirring up? As we bring it to the surface, I know it feels a little weird, but what exactly is it? This is what it means to guard our hearts. What exactly am I feeling? Okay, I'm frustrated. I don't want to keep getting into arguments. Okay, I think I know what it is. I've never said this out loud before. In fact, I feel even embarrassed. And there's another thing to even say I'm embarrassed to say this. I'm embarrassed to even say this out loud. I think just on everything that's happened, a few of my failures recently, I think I feel very insecure. I feel insecure. There it is. I just said it. I feel insecure. That's what you do when you identify, okay, what exactly is my emotion? And then the second thing we have to do is we have to say it out loud. All right, now you don't have to do this to somebody else right away. You start with yourself. There's just something about saying it out loud. Okay, I'm jealous. Okay, I think this, I feel like a failure right here. All right, this really made me feel betrayed. See, now we're beginning to pinpoint exactly what's in you. And crazy things beginning to happen. See, as long as those emotions stay buried and unidentified, and we don't really know, it's just, I'm just frustrated. I don't know what it is. I'm just frustrated. As long as they stay buried, you're going to be frustrated and angry. And let me tell you something. As long as those emotions are held in secret without being identified, they have enormous power over you. They drive you. They drive what you say. They drive what you do. They'll drive you into a cave. They'll drive you into a funk. They're very, very powerful, but when we start unearthing them, we start naming them out loud, they begin to lose their power. You might even say, when my wife talks about my brother-in-law, her brother, and I just begin to feel like a failure. He's so successful, and I feel like a failure. But when I think about it, okay, maybe she's not really doing that to hurt me. I think actually, maybe she's just proud of her brother. She just loves her brother. Wow. Maybe all the things I feel really are like more Kurt beads than him beads, right? This has nothing to do with him. I got to own this one. Maybe I even need to apologize to her. Now, why is it? Here's a question to get to the bottom of. Why is it that his success makes me feel like a failure? That would be a really good question to get to the bottom of. And I think what we begin to discover is much of what we feel is less about the other person and more about what we brought into this moment. It has nothing to do, perhaps, with our spouse or with the person we're working with or with the friend or the boyfriend or the girlfriend. Because these words, these actions just kind of surface stuff that was already in there. And I'm telling you, there is so much freedom that comes when we begin to discern what they said and how we feel. But as long as it's in secret, it just controls us. So you got to name it. You got to say, okay, I'm jealous. All right, I felt right here. I was angry. I was angry because I felt left out. All right, I felt inadequate in this moment. And I'm speaking from a guy, because that's all I know how to do, just in case you were wondering. But for guys, this is so hard. Let me just tell you, it is so hard to say this out loud. But when you do it, I'm telling you, it begins to lose its power. And then the last thing, the third thing we do with it, so you name it, you say it out loud, and then sometimes when it's appropriate, you got to wait for the appropriate time. You got to be very sensitive on this. You tell it to your partner, your spouse, your friend, your coworker. You tell them. And here's how the conversation might go. Mr. Mugg comes to Mrs. Mugg and says, I've discovered that like when you say those things to me, when I give you a call and tell you I'm going to be, late, home from work tonight, when you say those things to me, man, I just want you to know, I feel so like unappreciated. I mean, I just feel like this stuff starts coming out. Now, listen, there's no bad feelings, all right? No bad feelings. Sometimes we're made to feel like our feelings are wrong or bad or we shouldn't feel them. There's no bad feelings. And so when somebody you love comes to you and says, hey, when you do this is kind of how it makes me feel. Listen, that's not criticism at all, just so you know. That's just an observation, or they're not being critical. They're just saying, hey, I'm observing. This is what happens when this interaction takes place. And so when Mr. Bluebeard comes and he says, hey, when you do certain things, it makes me feel a certain way, that's just information. All right, and so when you open up to somebody in this way, when you kind of the proper response, let me show you what it should be. What we should do is go, oh my gosh, I'm so glad you told me. Oh my gosh. And then the next thing you do with it is this right here. You go, and that's the hard part right there, right? Like you just don't say anything. You hold your tongue. Like let's just practice that, because this is the hard part. Let's just say, you go, and you just go, oh my gosh, I'm so glad you told me. Not, well, you shouldn't feel that way. Or, I'm sorry you feel that way. No, it's just, oh my gosh, thank you for telling me. Listen, this is why. See, healthy people, when they discover that there's something that they're doing or they're saying that elicits some kind of response that is undesirable, that hurts, that really causes us to just feel a sense of like, I'm not being respected. You know what healthy people do? Healthy people quit doing it. That's what they do. They don't say, well, you just have to deal with me. That's just me. That's just who I am. All right, man, we got to toughen up. If you get bent out of shape about that, we got to toughen up. That's not what healthy people do. Healthy people, they just quit. They go, oh my gosh, I'm sorry. Here's what I want you to do this week. I want you to pay attention. I want you to pay attention to what's going on inside of you. All right, this week, I want you to ask this question. When you feel like there's stuff welling up, just say, okay, what emotion am I feeling? Pull that emotion wheel up and just start to pinpoint what's the emotion. All right, and then pay attention. Okay, what did they say or do that brought that up in me? All right, and then you go, oh my gosh, maybe this isn't a them problem. Maybe it's not even a marriage problem or a relationship problem. Maybe this is more of a heart problem right here. Oh my gosh, God, man, give me the grace to overcome what's going on inside of me right now, God. And we discover what Solomon says is actually probably pretty true. Above all else, he says, guard your heart, because everything else comes and flows from it. So here's the challenge this week. I want to encourage you to start paying attention to what's going on inside of you when you're interacting. Take a pause. When things start getting stirred up, go, okay, all right, what am I thinking right here? When she says or he says or they act or they do more of this or less of that, just pay attention. Okay, even get the wheel out. Okay, what emotion am I feeling right here? And before you act or before you say anything, just first go, God, okay, God, I need your grace right now. Would you help me identify what this emotion is? And would you help me? I want to name it. I want to speak it out loud. I want to take the power away from it. And then even at the appropriate time, you might even be able to go, oh my gosh, when you say this, I just want you to know this is how it makes me feel. And I'm telling you, because they love you, they might even go, man, I'm so glad you said that. I'm so glad that you cared enough to share that with me, because I don't ever want to create that again. And this is where we're going to pick it up next week. Let me pray for us. Heavenly Father, I know this lands in a lot of different places for us right now. And for some of us, this probably helps explain some of our families of origin. For others of us, it explains perhaps a previous marriage. For others of us, it explains maybe some difficult challenges we're going through right now, or even gives us something to shoot for, something to achieve, something to work toward. And Father, I just pray that wherever we are in that spectrum, God, I just pray that you would help us guard our hearts. Help us to pay attention to what's going on inside of us. I pray that we, as students, as men, as women, God, that we would pay attention to what's going on in our hearts so that we can not only generously love, but we can also receive love and be loved. And so God, even in this moment, I just want us to make a little room. I want us to make a little room right now for you to communicate with us. And help us to see, God, help us to have eyes to see what we need to see in this moment, even the courage to respond the way that perhaps we need to respond.